As a witcher, you will see many strange things, both locations and creatures. Today we shall be looking at such a place, and the tale of the unfortunate sod within. Not this guy, though Moses knows there are better ways to die. He most likely got offed by the wraith lurking about here. But more on that later. Now, one of the graves here has been dug up, and I think I know why, but once again, more on that later. The rest of the graveyard is ordinary, save the grave ahead here, which is of significant importance. It reads, "Here lieth the mortal remains of Florian Verrieres, who died childless in the flower of his youth, stricken down by apoplexia while hunting. May Melitiel forgive him his sins against nature and its laws." A wooden sword adorns the grave, fit for a child. Approaching the church will trigger the first part of a fight against a wraith, which will most likely be, unfortunately, quite stronger than you. Careful movement and the Jurgen sign will serve you well here. Once you've taken care of the bugger, you can finally inspect the church the wraith fled into. Outside, you will find bloody handprints on either side of the door, as if someone hung on while they were being dragged inside, or fell against it while bloodied. Then you blow the door in to fuck. This will lead down into a crypt. But it's not here that we want to go, for we have already heard some info about this place back in the town of Wosong.
So it worked. Except it was some drowner that had supped on him. Witcher had naught to do with it. What did the folk do?
That is what you
They
folk
could have
lack.
sewed his head back on. Word is they rode his corpse to the east and shot him.
So a child went missing and a witcher was accused. He was tortured and his head was apparently cut off, and the body dumped in the crypt. So we can expect to find a witcher's corpse in there. Also, the kid got shreked by a drowner. Ha! So we get to see a bit of the usual racism that witchers are exposed to, and this time, it costs one their life, and their corpse, which we respectively want to desecrate and rob, is in that crypt, with that wraith. Shit! So once you've dispatched the spectral shitlord, we can get a good look at this crypt. It has the tombs of what I assume are the bodies of the family who once owned it, oddly enough undisturbed and intact. Throughout the place are several skeletons, which may be the victims that brought the wraith problem to light to the public. We then find the body of a witcher, lying dead, though in an odd position, not in a way that would suggest his body was dumped, but that he died and died so against a pillar. Well, that's because he was not beheaded. If we check him, we can find a note that explains exactly who he is and why he is down here. To Ivar Evil-Eye, Master Witcher of the Viper School. I have found all the legendary diagrams once belonging to our order. Certain complications have arisen, however. On the way back to our keep, I stopped to rest in a village in the Temerian borderlands. The blasted peasants decided to make me into their scapegoat and accuse me of kidnapping some beekeeper's brat. They took me into the local lordling's castle for interrogation, during which they found and confiscated one of the diagrams. But do not fear, I will get it back. They did not find the others. I have invoked Temerian common law and demanded a trial by ordeal instead of submitting to the whims of this baronet. My request was granted, and tomorrow I am to cleanse the baronet's family crypt of wraiths. I expect it will prove little trouble. Perhaps I will have already returned to our keep by the time you receive this letter. Light the furnaces. We'll have some forging to do. Kolgrim. So he collected all the drawings and he was on his way back to the headquarters of the Viper School. The locals then accused him of a crime and tortured him. He then demanded a trial to clear his name and was told to sort out this crypt that belongs to the baronet. Unfortunately, the wraith demolished him and he died. However, we have looted his corpse and we now know the location of the rest of the gear and we can go and get it. Also, it appears that he may have been the one who was dragged into this crypt when he tried to get away, but at least his death profits us. Our quest takes us to a bandit camp, where we maul them all to frig with our superior skills. Once they are all thoroughly dead, we can get to the last diagram, and a very interesting note from the chest. It's the interrogation report, and it reads as follows. Location, Arnevet Fortress. Persons taking part, Sir Ignatius Verrieres, Bart the Bailiff Andreas Bloom, Sir Ignatius's underlings, Carney Guardian Belzy. Suspect, Kolgrim, Witcher of the Viper School. The Witcher Kolgrim stands accused of kidnapping Vidi, son of Paul. a beekeeper residing in White Orchard. Suspect was detained pending trial. Upon detention, he was searched and a diagram for the forging of a steel sword was found on his person. It is suspected this sword was used to intimidate or possibly kill the kidnapped child. It is likewise suspected that the accused possesses other such diagrams for the forging of death-dealing implements, though none have been found to date. Sir Ignatius has requested the Witcher undergo a preliminary interrogation with the application of torture. This will take place once a torture with the proper qualifications has been found. Addendum. It was later discovered drowners were responsible for the boy's disappearance. Unfortunately, Kolgrim died before this information reached the investigators, for rather than face the baronet's judgment, he chose a trial by ordeal. Sir Ignatius agreed and ordered he cleanse the Verrieres family crypt of spectres. Kolgrim never emerged from said crypt. It is highly likely that the motley wraiths, spectres and evil powers residing therein proved too much for him. So there we have it, the whole tale. A child was taken by drowners and was almost certainly killed. Kolgrim, back from his travels to find secret Viper School diagrams, was then apprehended by the villagers and accused of the crime. The reason for this is that many orphans are taken in and raised as witchers, and the ignorant folk assume witchers steal children. He was then subjected to questioning and tortured, whereupon one of his diagrams was taken. One of these bandits may have been involved, as one or more of them may have been the aforementioned underlings of Sir Ignatius. Instead of a rigged trial, Kolgrim decided to take a contract and try rid the baronet's crypt of wraiths. If you remember, the gravestone with the inscription that means that this child in the grave belonged to the same family as the baronet. He may have died recently, hence the reason the baronet was so quick to blame Kolgrim for another child's death, as there are still candles and a sword on that grave. The dug up graves were most likely Kolgrim's doing, as he would have wanted to try and destroy the remains of the wraith that haunted the crypt. He eventually fought it and either gripped the walls with bloodied hams while going in or trying to escape, which explains the bloodied handprints outside the door. The soldier at the front of the cemetery and the one within were most likely sent in to see what became of him, and then were promptly slaughtered by the wraith. Well, Kolgrim, we can't bring you back, but we have done you the honour of avenging you. Then, you know, robbing your corpse of the items you dedicated your last days retrieving. We're probably just going to try and kill people with them, maybe sell them for some money for Gwent cards. Yeah. Yes, I'm sure this is exactly what he would have wanted. I hoped you liked this episode about a persecuted witcher, stupid locals, and all the sweet gear we can steal from his corpse. If you did, why not leave a like? I love reading comments, so get them in there. Any suggestions for future content or videos you would like me to do are appreciated and welcome. If you want to help me grow, share this video on as many social media sites as you can, especially Reddit. Tell everyone. If you want to contact me regarding business, send me a private message either here or on Twitter, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I hope to see you in my next episode, and until then, goodbye.